He wanted to get out, but when he planned everything to leave, it was already too late. Hey guys, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Katherine Knight case and how her lack of control mixed with her jealousy led her to unaliving her boyfriend of 5 years. Just so you guys know, this video is based on education and entertainment purposes only, so let's get started. John Charles Price was born on April 4th, 1955, and he had a career as a mine worker, starting from early adulthood until about a few years before he was unalived, as well as a father of his 3 daughters. Now he and Katherine met in 1990, where he had already been divorced for about 2 years. Now his relationship with Katherine started off as like a hookup that never left type of situation, but she did not officially move in with him and his kids until about 5 years after their relationship had already started. And as a matter of fact, according to an article called, and I'm looking at my computer, The Mother Who Tried to Feed Her Boyfriend to Her Children, Katherine Knight, by Harrison Scott, mentions how John knew about Katherine's violent tendencies. However, I do believe that it was because he probably felt that he was able to change Katherine and be a better person. But with this in mind, according to his children anyway, John and Katherine did have a good relationship, apart from having the violent outbursts or violent arguments where it would mostly be about how John just did not want to marry Katherine. And unfortunately, this was the most that I was able to find about John. I tried to find some more articles and more videos about him specifically, but I just couldn't find any. Furthermore, Katherine Knight was born October 24th, 1955, and she, just like most of the unalivers I have covered so far, did not have the best upbringing, as she was raped by most of her relatives up until she was 11, as well as her mother being raped by Katherine's father. And this seemed to have been like the norm for her, because when she told her mom about a time when a boy in her school asked for favors, the mom was like, just get over it, stop complaining, just do it. But besides this, Katherine did have a good time in school. Like she was a good student, she got good grades. Whenever she had the opportunity to connect with her classmates, make friends, it would always end up in a fight where her classmates as well as her teachers said that she would go in this murderous rage. Like one time at school, I don't know if it was the same boy or not, but she went at a boy and her teacher with a knife. Well, no, not a knife. The article just said that she had a weapon in her hand. And this was just like the least violent that I could find about Katherine Knight. After this incident, a few years later, when she was about 15, she decided to drop out of high school and got her first job as a cutter in a clothing company. And about a year after she got her first job, she got another position, which she referred to as her dream position, in a butcher shop. Now, just to give a backstory on Katherine's past romantic relationships, she was married to David Kellett from 1974 to 1984, and on the night of their wedding, or should I say the day of their wedding, Katherine's mom warned David, telling him that Katherine is a very good person, but don't get her mad. If you get her mad or go on her bad side, she will unalive you. And I don't know if it was coincidence or not, but on that same night, Katherine did strangle him. Now, it was not enough to actually unalive him, but it really did seem like she was trying to. And the reason for this is very bizarre. She said to the police, because of course David did call the police. She said to the police that, well, he fell asleep after our third time having intercourse. So, and so I'm like, really? That was your reason? It's like, no, it is not a good reason. I personally don't see any reason being a good reason, but really? And this really seemed to have been like Katherine giving David a preview of what their 10-year marriage would have been like, or would be like, because whenever Katherine would get mad at him, it would lead to her burning his shoes and his clothes. And actually, I should preface this. This was when Katherine was pregnant with their first child. She decided to burn his shoes and his clothes because he was late from coming back from a competition, darts competition. And it wasn't even just that she burned his stuff. She also hit him with a frying pan. And it just went on like that until Katherine just decided to divorce David. Well, actually, no. I should preface that David did leave the house, go to a different city, but she was still pushing the relationship. And the moment that David actually felt free from Katherine was when she filed for divorce. Now that I have mentioned Katherine's past relationships, her relationship with John was no different, as her very first fight with John, at least from what police detectives got on record, Katherine stabbed him in the chest. I have no idea what the fight was about. I don't think that his daughters was in the house when it happened, because according to the daughters, it didn't get that violent. It went to the point of John Price telling his drinking buddy, hey, if you still see my truck, still in the driveway at 6 a.m. when you leave for work yourself, then call the police, because she did something to me. She apparently filmed him stealing from his work, because according to the cameras, when we've seen the cameras, it seemed like he was stealing from his boss. And one time when they were getting into another argument, she got so mad that she decided, hey, I'm going to send this to your boss. And John ended up losing his job when he was not actually stealing from his boss at all. Now, fast forward, it's March 2000, and Constable Scott Matthews and Graham Furlonger were called to check in on John. I can only assume it's because John's friend / neighbor called the police because he saw that John's car was still in the driveway, and that's why the constables were there. Anyway, when Matthews and Furlonger got to John's place, they knocked on the door and no one answered. So when they noticed that the door hinge was covered in blood, they decided to break in, and they found something that I can only imagine would haunt them to this day. As they entered the hallway, they saw what they thought was a type of cloth. But when they took their hand off of it, they noticed that it was blood. And when they took a better look at it, they noticed that it was actually human skin. They called it, in an interview, a human pelt. Again, I can only imagine how they felt when, after seeing that it was a human skin, to see right behind it a human torso without a head. And as they were walking further into the house, they heard someone snoring, and that's when they found Katherine Knight. Once they were able to help Katherine, they sent her to the hospital where she stayed under supervision while they kept trying to investigate the case. The police officers were not able to interview Katherine until the doctors gave her the clear, like she's able to be interviewed, because when they found her, she was very much unconscious. So they had to wait a while. So during this time, forensic investigators went back to John's place, and just from the amount of blood that was in just in the first level alone was enough for the forensic investigators guess that the attack started in John's bedroom, where John was most likely asleep. It was also determined that John was stabbed 37 times until he tragically was unalived, until he sadly unalived. Now, not only was John's body parts put on display throughout his house, but other parts of his body was put in a boiling pot, cooking with a couple of other vegetables that later on investigators found out Katherine had planned to give to her children. Furthermore, about five days after finding Katherine and John, Katherine was able to be interviewed, and at first she claimed to have no idea what happened. She does not even remember falling asleep. But funny enough, after several hours, she did admit to unaliving her boyfriend, but would not say why she unalived him. And it was further discovered that she had filmed herself the night that she unalived John. And I'm assuming as a defense, as a way to defend herself, she told the detectives that John was very abusive towards her during their entire relationship. But this defense right here got knocked out almost immediately as the interrogators interviewed Katherine's past boyfriends and ex-husbands. And on top of all of that, the detectives got confirmation that Katherine unalived her. On top of her own confession, they got confirmation that she was the one who unalived John, because Katherine even told her own brother that she was planning on unaliving John and that she would be able to get away with it. And about a year later, when it was time for Katherine's trial, she did plead not guilty, but later changed her plea to guilty. And the judge was so suspicious of this that he even asked her to be evaluated for insanity, because just to make sure that she is mentally sane. That way, later on, she when she's convicted as guilty, she cannot say, "Hey, I was insane during the time that I said this." And as it turns out, the first psychiatrist said that she's sane, that she's mentally sane enough to be able to stand trial. But at one point, she was also diagnosed by other psychiatrists for having personality disorders, which according to experts explained why she was so violent. But at the end of the day, the John's family did get closure because Katherine is spending the rest of her life in prison with absolutely no chance of parole. This is probably the saddest case I've heard, because not only was he abused for so many years, going back and forth in this relationship, but he tried to leave with no thoughts of returning. But anyway, thank you for watching my video. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.